Hey everyone, welcome to part 2 of how to set up a Statamic 3 developer environment. So in part 1, we went through setting up Composer, which is used to manage dependencies, also Valet, which is used to set up like a hosting environment. And in part 2, we'll actually get Statamic installed, so you can start practicing on the front end and actually developing a site. So the easiest way to do this, to make sure that you're not doing anything strange, and for example, there's nothing wrong with your front-end markup, we can use a starter kit so we know that everything should work. I actually recommend that we get 2 instances of Statamic installed. The first is a plain old vanilla starter site where there's no kind of pre-built theme, so we can build things ourselves. And the second is what they call a starter kit, which is a pre-made website that we can take things from and learn from. So let's get going. Remember to go to statamic.dev and then we'll go to how to install Statamic. There are 2 different ways of doing this via the command line. The first is sort of like a helper way, which gives you a few more built-in options. And as it says, it's the preferred method. So let's try and do it this way. And if we try and do this, mine looks a bit different because I've already tried to do this before. So it says that this is already there. Nothing to install, update, or remove. But once you've done this, if we go to the next step, which is using this command to generate a new Statamic site. So if I say Statamic new, let's call this starter. You'll see that it says command not found Statamic. But we're going to try this fix to get over that. I went on the Statamic forum and John Carter here has suggested a fix. So let's try this. So what Nano does is it opens like a text editor inside the terminal. And we've opened this directory or file. And then let's try this command. So we're going to add this to the bottom as our username here, which in my case, if you go to your home folder, you can find this. So mine is jgeorge. And then we're going to exit, which is Control X. And we're going to say yes to save and then enter. So let's try and go into that again just to make sure it's saved. Yep, it's saved. It's still there. And then we're going to try this command. Okay, great, this is working. Let's go back to the installation instructions. And at this point, we're going to go back to what we were doing, which is installing like a vanilla install of Statamic, a blank slate, which is the first one, Statamic/Statamic. So I'm going to press 0. And don't worry if you get like a warning about packages abandoned. This is more about like dependencies and for the development team rather than us to worry about. So now if we go into our okay, so this is put it above our sites folder. So what we want to do is I'm going to delete this, and we want to Command C to copy sites, and then CD, change directory, sites. Now we're in the sites folder, and we would run this again. I'm going to call it something different this time. I'm just going to call it starter. And when this is run, we're going to do another one. We're going to call it Creek, which is one of the themes. So if I go back into the main statamic.dev page, you can see Starters Creek is one of the themes. So I'm just going to call it Creek and select it from here, which is number 3. And when that's done, we should have 2 different versions of Statamic. One is like the blank install, which I recommend you use to build on. And the other is like a theme that we can reference. So what we want to do now is make 2 different local domains to access these. So remember, the first thing we need to do is change the directory. Let's go into Creek. So I'm going to copy that. CD for change directory, paste, hit enter. And now we can see at the top of the window I'm in Creek. And then I'm going to say Valet link Creek, Valet secure Creek. And if I say Valet links, we can see that's linked correctly to the Creek subfolder of the sites folder. Now I'm going to change directory to the starter folder. So I'm going to say CD starter, Valet link starter, Valet secure starter, Valet links. Okay, so now if I open up starter.wip, we can see this is like the vanilla install where it's pretty much blank. There's this starter page, but that's it. And if I go to creek.wip, this is the starter kit. So it's a funky pre-built website where we can start inspecting things, and If we like what we see, we can maybe port it over to our starter website. With both of these, you're going to want to create a new user. So at the moment, we're in the starter folder, if you remember. So in the tutorial, if we scroll down, it says next steps, and there's a command here, php please make user. So I'm going to copy this command, paste it in here, and it's going to take me through like an interactive user creation thing. So we just need to do this with the first one. With the second and third user, we can actually just do this in the control panel. And I'm going to say yes to super user. So now what we can do is go /cp and put these details in that we've just created. And now we're in the control panel. And to do this for the Creek one, remember we need to change the directory. So cd, and then we can do the make user command again. And then we can go creek.wip/cp. So I think this gets you into a really good position to start playing with the front end of Statamic and exploring the syntax. My advice for you to start understanding how things are built is if we go into collections and then pages, and you can see the home page is the first one, which will of course be the creek.wip page, and then check out which template is used. And you can see here it's blog.index. What I would then do is open up a new window in your code editor of choice. So I'm using VS Code, and then just drag this entire folder into your code editor. So we have all the files in here, and then do a global search. And in this case, we're going to look for blog.index. I think .index refers to the fact that it's like a sub file of the blog folder. So if I search for index, okay, so there's a lot of index files. So in this case, I would probably maybe inspect the page and just find like a class on one of these. Let's try and find an unusual class name, maybe like squiggle or something. So I'm going to copy squiggle as a class name and do a global search for squiggle. And we can see this narrows it down. So the file that we actually want is index.antlers.html, index being a clue because we can see that the template is blog.index. And here you can start ripping apart the templates. So we can see it says here newer articles. Actually, this is part of the pagination. Let's just type hello, save that, reload, and you can see it outputs here. So this is a great starting point for playing around with the template. Thanks for listening, and in the next video, we'll talk about the publishing workflow with Statamic and getting it live on your site.